they want Danny Rick's feedback and don't just want Lando to be the only one in the car, and that's not really beneficial to anybody. So it's going to put him on the back foot slightly going into Bahrain for sure. Having 24 hours of testing at Bahrain, and all these teams learning things, drivers learning exactly the sort of style they want to be taking into round one next weekend. But Danny Rick, unfortunately, will have to just listen to what the team and Lando tell him. Another question about McLaren, actually. Robert P. West asks, should McLaren be concerned about how few laps they've completed? I wouldn't probably go to the level of concern because, as I just mentioned, 90 laps today is actually a solid amount from Lando, and I'm sure they wouldn't be particularly ringing any alarms from today, but they didn't exactly set the world alight for the first 2 days. But they had a good test in Barcelona, so in terms of some of the things that have been testing and mileage and reliability, it's okay. But I suppose it's the new parts that they wanted to test in Bahrain that they may not have got as many miles and as much feedback from two drivers as they would have wanted.
I think it's definitely concerning. I think that's a fair word to use, but it's not oh my God, McLaren are going to finish last this year. We should all be really scared and panicking. It's not as bad as that. It's just a case of a bit of trouble here and there. And although testing is important, there's no denying it. They'd much rather that they have these issues arise in pre-season testing than if we got to Bahrain next week and then they had the issue with the overheating brakes, and it was an issue that ended up costing them points and things like that for the race and etc. So yeah, I think hopefully they will have this week to sort of diagnose what was wrong, bring the updates from the MTC if they need them, and get this issue fixed. Ricciardo as well, he's raced at Bahrain 10 times in his F1 career, so it's not like he's heading to a new track with a car he's not fully got the grips with. He will have that experience of driving in Bahrain previously, but as you said, these are brand new cars, and we've seen he has struggled adapting to a new type of machinery with his performance in McLaren at the start of last year. So I'm sure he's a bit bummed at the fact that he's missed out on that testing and the time behind the wheel. But the guy's an experienced racing driver. In theory, he should be able to, get into the car in Bahrain next weekend and carry on like nothing has happened, if obviously he's physically well enough as well, because as you mentioned on the YouTube stream earlier, COVID can vary from person to person. I got it last week. I'm still suffering from it now. I've tested negative, but the effects are still there. And we've seen it with Hamilton and such, where he got COVID, and then after Hungary, for example, he was really struggling on that podium. And he said that after getting COVID, he's suffered with some real fatigue issues, etc. So it could be something that we see with Ricciardo next week, but fingers crossed that he just had a little blip of being unwell and he'll come back nice and strong, ready to take it to Lando Norris next week. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Katie making good points, great points in fact, but her internet not being able to hold out as well as maybe we all hoped.
No, for real?
Yeah, little robotic.
I am going to actually fight with my
I still knew what you were saying. We'll carry on, but it's just wanted to cover that off for anybody watching or listening going, that sounds a bit weird. It's clearly Katie's...
I've not transformed into a robot
mid-convo. No, that's not your voice either after COVID. You've not just turned into R2-D2 or something. But but moving away from McLaren and over to Mercedes, Aslan_Shahzad asks, do we believe that Mercedes, even though they say it every year, are actually slower and will not win races? Okay, so I did my predictions a few weeks ago. We all did as a little podcast, and obviously I put Ferrari number one, and that's the hope, the dream. I was going to go against the grain. I said in the YouTube stream earlier, if my life depended on it, Mercedes are clear by an absolute mile. That's what, not a mile, but I think Mercedes are first. I think Ferrari and Red Bull will be very closely matched in fighting for second. And I think McLaren may even be falling into the clutches of the likes of AlphaTauri, in my opinion. That's the pecking order that I've come up with. But for anyone thinking that Mercedes doesn't have the pace, just just you wait. That's all I'm going to say. Like, you cannot